Hey everyone, this is Alisha Costanzo and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my restrictive reading wrap-up, the books I read in July, and I'm going to try to do this really fast, like super speed, because I read a lot of books. So let's get right into the numbers for July. I read 18 books, or I should say finished 18 books. 1 physical book, finally got one of those on there, 14 audiobooks, and 3 ebooks. Genres that we had. Oh, I didn't do my categories. Oh, how many YA do I have? Hold on. 4 young adult and 14 adult. There we go. For genres, I have 10 fantasy. So some of these are going to repeat a little bit because some of them fit multiple categories. 3 romance, 1 contemporary, 1 thriller, 1 nonfiction, and 2 historical, and 1 sci-fi. I read 5,035 pages this month. And I listened to 136 hours, 37 minutes, and 56 seconds, which equates to 5 days, 16 hours, 37 minutes, and 56 seconds of audiobooks. So, as per usual, I am going to give you the book, my rating, my word, and I'm going to talk really quickly about each of these books so we can get through this really fast. Alright, so book number 1 is Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. This is the first in a series. I read it for a challenge. It's very vampire, fairy, witch kind of urban fantasy where Rachel Morgan is a runner, so she goes and gets the criminals in the paranormal world, and then she leaves her job, and is the company she leaves puts a hit out on her, and she's chasing somebody else who's killing people and all sorts of things. So my word for this is growth, because although she didn't grow terribly much in the first book, I do see the potential for it since this is a series. So that is what I'm expecting. There was a moment at the end of the book where I'm like, I really wish she'd stop doing that, and I really hope she grows out of that type of cloying behavior. So I gave this a 4.5 and I enjoyed it very much. I'm going to continue this series. So book number 2, My Cat's in Heat. You're going to hear it and I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. Book number 2 is Spells Trouble by PC and Kirsten Cast. I read their House of Night series mostly. I did not finish this book. I stopped at about 18% when the mother said, "Get back, you vile beast." And I was just like, it felt like, that's my word for this, by the way, is vile beast. It felt forced. It felt like adults trying to write teenagers, although I feel like that sometimes. But the teenagers didn't feel authentic. I had a hard time caring. The characters made me have a hard time caring. The only interesting character, go figure, was the football player. Again, DNF'd it, so no rating. I get 59 pages in. Book number 3 is The Lies of Blockmora by Scott Lynch. I gave this a 4.25, and my word for this is character, because the characters were amazing. A lot of the plot was amazing too. I really liked how he handled the jumping back and forth in time to set up what was going on. There are a few things, like plot-wise, I was like, like I kind of saw that coming. But overall, like, I really liked, oh my god, the characters were so fun. Block was so fun. Okay, definitely recommend to people who like higher fantasy, assassin stuff. Book number 4 is Beach Read, and that is by Emily Henry. This is one of my contemporary romances, and I gave this a 5. My word for this is Gus. Gus is a new book crush. I love Gus. Oh my god. I'm gonna read this again like next month. I loved it so much. Go figure, this is not my favorite read of the month. I had one of those months where I just read some really, really good books, but I put another one of Emily Henry's books on hold, so I'm gonna reread the one when I get it, because I read it in 6 hours. It was something suggested to me for my YouTube Suggests video, which I will talk more about the book there, but I love Gus. Oh my god. Not having his perspective makes me love him all the more. I don't know if it's just, once I learned the things about him and looking back, I'm really excited to see it again, knowing the things that I know about him. So, okay, definitely 5-star, definitely recommended to read. Book number 5 is Swing Volume 1. Is the only physical book I have because it is an erotic graphic novel, and this was for another challenge of mine where I had to get the word swing, so I figured why not. I actually found it interesting. It was a good setup for the rest of the series, and that's my word for it, is setup, because we barely got any sexy stuff in this one, and it's supposed to be erotic. Didn't really get a whole lot of swinging either, but we will get there apparently. I don't know if I will continue with the series or not, but yes, I gave this a 3 because of that. I was expecting more out of it initially. Maybe if it had been just a tiny bit longer, I would have been more happy with it. But yes, this wasn't bad. Like, maybe if they have a compendium, I might get that. Alright, so book 6 is... Am I on 6? I'm on 6. River Marked by Patricia Briggs, and this is book 6 or 7. I'm up to 6 or 7 now in that series. I gave this a 5, of course. I give all of her books a 5 so far. I haven't found anything wrong with her rating. And the word for this one is a monster, and that river monster was creepy and scary as shit. Killed a whole lot of things. Like, this is a kind of mythology I had not heard of before or experienced in books before, so very happy with that. You should definitely take a look if you get a chance to get these books. Like, get these books because the growth in the world and the characters. Which brings me to book number 7, which is Frostburn, also by Patricia Briggs, which is number 7. Okay, this is number 7. That's where I'm at right now. I also gave this a 5. My word for this was twists. I did not expect the whole, like, thing that happened in this book. So there was a few plot lines, and then the first plot line ended really early. I'm like, what's really going on here? And then we twisted to this other thing, and just, it was interesting. I feel like we're setting up for something else too, which makes me happy. Alright, so book number 8 is Tell Me Lies by Carola Levering. This is the book that I rolled over from last month because I had to read it for a challenge and I didn't have, it was on hold. So I DNF'd this. I think it says 39 pages, an hour into it. And my word for this is ick. I did not like the characters. I did not like the situation they were in. I did not like their voice. I did not care about what they cared about. And as soon as the 23-year-old put his hand up the 14-year-old shirt, I was done. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Done. So book number 8, 9? Book number 9 is my favorite book of the month, and that is The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I think V.E. Schwab's going to be a new favorite author of mine. This, I knew it was going to break my heart. Like, everybody warned me. And then it broke my heart, and I sobbed. And I sobbed. And then the ending was so bittersweet. Like, it was the best way to end. It was the best way to end it. I hope they make a movie of this. I've heard about that. I really hope they make a movie of this. Obviously, 5 stars. Favorite read of the month. And my word for this was heartbreak. Because it absolutely did that. It will absolutely break your heart, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Number 10 is The Good, the Bad, and the Undead by Kim Harrison. This is book 2. I read book 1 at the beginning of the month at Butchwalking. This is book 2 in the... Oh my god, Rachel Morgan, I just forgot her name for some reason. I gave this also a 4.5, and my word for this was dark, because it certainly was dark. Some of the things that happened to some of the main characters I was not so happy with. I'm glad the people got their comeuppance at the end, but I was kind of not happy about what happened to Ivy. It was pretty damn dark. So yeah, there's that. Overall, the story was compelling and fast-moving and lots of tension. And I'm still hoping she grows a little bit. She did a tiny bit. She still needs quite, she's conscious of this at least. But yeah, I see potential in the next couple books. I'm excited to see what happens with the contractor dude. One who wants to, hire her, who's also a bad guy, and the new detective dude, and what's gonna happen with Nick. There's a whole bunch of boys going on. Alright, so book number 11 is actually on my August TBR. Didn't have anything to read physically, and that's what I could do at the moment, so I picked up that book knowing that I had to read it, and flew through it. It's called The Wright Brother Me by Kay Lindy. I read most of it. I skimmed parts of it where it got really cliche. And my word for this is typical. I gave it 3 stars. Now, there were some, the first bits of the book were really interesting, where the tension built. The first date was really interesting. Some of the other parts between them and their tension was really interesting. But the divorce and the son and the cheating and all of the extra bits around them were so typical that I was just Could we not think of anything else to do for these guys to keep them, to create tension? Like, So, good building when they were being intimate with each other, getting to know each other. Terrible outside influences, tension, plot points. 3 stars. I would give another one of her books a try though, so. Book 12. We're getting through these. Book 12 is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I gave this a 4.5, and my word for this was cute and tense. So I love the interaction between the 2 main characters, the young girl who's trying to solve this murder, and the boy who's seen as guilty for committing said murder. His older brother. Older brother? I think older brother. Them working through that and the relationship that blooms from there is super cute. And of course there's a lot of tension because shit happened that like completely blew my mind a little bit. The ending in like whodunit kind of fashion was still kind of like, there was a lot of red herrings in it and a lot of weird. I don't know if we needed all of the perpetrators to be the perpetrators, but it was what it was, and it was weird and it was different, and I liked that. So there you go, that one. By the way, the Wright brother was a woman who had dated a brother in the Wright family, and then they separated, and then at a wedding she sees the other brother, the older brother, who she's always had a crush on, and billionaire, going on a date, poor farm girl, was cheated on kind of thing. Yeah, okay, just I forgot to give you any information at all about that book. Alright, let's go on to, what am I on, number 13, I hope? Number 13 is Wildflower by Drew Barrymore. This is my nonfiction book. I again rolled this over from last month because I was supposed to read it last month and my holds just didn't come up. So when it came up, I listened to it. It was a short book. It was quirky. I gave it a 3. I really liked the parts where I learned about her career and her family and the things that she was doing and some of the like stories we know about her and her perspective of them and her drive for those things. But my word for this is mom, because she really focused on the whole mom thing, and that's not something I connect all that much with because I've never had my own children. So the whole baby, pregnancy, devoting my whole life to children, mom thing, I'd have rather learned more about her before that than her during that. Book 14, we are getting there, is Kill the Farm Boy by Kevin Hearn and Delilah Dawson. This was another DNF of mine. I did 21% of the way in. I knew pretty soon that I wasn't going to enjoy it. There's a lot of things that I liked about it. I love satire. I am not such a fan of parody though. And I've had people tell this to me before and it makes me rethink some of the things that I do. But making every single element of fairy tales and twisting every single one of them and mashing them together was so overbearing. It was so overwhelming that I couldn't follow. I didn't care. I did not care. Spoiler, the farm boy dies really early in this book. I don't know why that's the name of the book. Over the top is my phrase for this, because it was over the top. There didn't seem a whole lot of rhyme or reason for the things that were happening. And other reviews say the plot, yeah, I didn't see a plot because the point of the book ended in chapter like 3. Number 15 is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was my poll pick for last month, and it's one of my 21 before 2021s. I gave this a 4.5. It was decent, and my word for this was magic, because the magic in this was amazing. I loved all the different tents and how these characters kind of built these places for each other. All of the relationships in there were pretty cool. I think it took a little bit to get going, and that's my only issue with it, which is why I got a 4.5. It took a little bit to get going. The ending, although satisfying, was rather predictable, but I mean that's the kind of book that we were reading, so I try not to get upset when the book does what it's supposed to do for genre. But it did it in an interesting enough way that it didn't bother me so much that it did what it was supposed to do, if that makes sense. Okay. Book number 16 is The Trader's Wife by Alison Pataki. This was my randomized my library pick, and I can't see anything particularly bad about the writing. I do have it down as a DNF for the moment. I might get back to it. I think it's just a mood thing. That's my word for this, is mood. So it's about Benedict Arnold's wife, and right now in the beginning, the first 19% of the book, which is about where I am, is mostly like a historical romance, period romance, where rich beautiful girl losing her fortune, wants the sexy man who's stringing two ladies along, and she's being untoward, and then we see this all from her new lady maid. And I kind of know what's gonna happen because I've read these kinds of books before. You know, and I've watched the movies. I watched all of the Jane Austen movies. I tried to read Pride and Prejudice, but we're not friends. As Casey from Lost in the Bookcase would say, we're not friends. Because I skimmed for Darcy's name about halfway through that book. I couldn't do it anymore. So, I didn't feel that way with this. It was just like, I was just not in the mood to go through all of the hoops that they're going to go through with that kind of story. So, DNF for now. I might pick it back up at some point. Because again, the writing was nice. So, number 17 is The Bride of the Water God, which was a graphic novel I got from my library, so I read it on my phone. And that is by Mi Kyung-yeon, I think is how you say that name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. I'm trying. I gave this a 4. It was a pretty good, I mean, there's obviously things I didn't understand because some things were written in a different language in the pictures. So I feel like I missed some clues, some context clues, but overall, I really, really liked the story about a young girl being offered up to the water god so that he would lift the drought off for people. And he's cursed, so the word curse. He is cursed to be a child during the day and a man at night. And she meets them both but doesn't know them the same person, so it creates this really interesting tension, and I'm looking forward to book 2. So, yes. Alright, my last one, number 18, is Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells. This is book 3 in the Murderbot Diaries, and my husband and I love this series. I gave this a 5, and my word for this is once again growth. I think that was my first word, and we're ending full circle growth, because the mastery that Martha Wells applies to her characters in such a short space. Like, these are novellas. This is a 4-hour read, less than 4 hours. And I went, well, one, the murder bot just keeps growing, and he's dealing with this idea of jealousy and all these other things because he meets he meets a robot who is treated better than he was, and he's trying to deal with those emotions, which is interesting. And then we see the robot grow, and we don't meet him till like halfway through the book. We see him grow so much in those 2 hours that you care about what happens to him. Like, it's just, she's a master. She is a master at this. So, definite 5-star. I read so many good books this month. Oh my shit. So many good books this month. So many 5s and 4.5s. With that, I'm continuing a lot of series. I'm finding new authors that I really love, which makes me super excited, which means these challenges are working, because I feel like half of these reads were for challenges. And now that I say that, I want to actually see how many of these were for challenges. Hold on. 6 of them. 7. 7 of them were for challenges. Yay. I have so many challenges going on right now. Like, okay. I could babble about this for a while. So anyways, I had a pretty good reading month, even though I DNF'd 4 books. And yeah, I hope you guys found something that you might have liked reading, something that I liked that maybe you will not pick up. Please make me suggestions in the comments below. I'd love to know what you're reading, what your favorite books are. Maybe I can do a challenge based on suggestions I get from the comments. So I would love to try that. And I read all my books this month, so no punishment. Thankfully. And as my final note, I just want to give a shout out to Justin Gustinas, because he was a professor of mine at Plattsburgh University when I got my communications and English degrees, my 2 bachelor's degrees, and he writes some pretty awesome books. But this, oh my god, I love this series. Quincy Morris, so like the Vampire Hunter, and it's got a lot of darkness. He is a very dark author with I like in paranormal fantasy. So, if you want a good suggestion of a book to read, check his stuff out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.